What is going on, YouTube? This is The Last Musketeer, and welcome to the second half of Progress Video 9. So, I wanted to get a little bit more squeezed into this video if I could. The problem was I'm having some internet issues. It seems that a tornado has run rampant in a certain part of, maybe not where I live, but in my state, that is kicking out a lot of interference. So, we're going to have to make do with what I have, and hopefully in the upload process it doesn't go down too many times. It's went down quite a few times since I've been home from work, so just bear with me on that. There is still a decent amount of stuff in this video, so not too bad after all, but we're picking up right where we left off in the last video with Chapter 9 boss. And I have to say, the mechanics of this boss fight were actually really nice. I had a great time working around with the mechanics of this boss fight, and as you can see from the top two that are glowing, I had already prepped them with Cantabile and Gravel prior to this so that I can plant one unit, knock it down instantly. That way, I can get rid of the defense and resistance that the boss has while not being affected by the pillar stun. So, Amiya was setting up there just so I could have the ability ready, and I used the first ability because this one is based on arch damage. She gains a 60% chance to dodge all incoming arch damage, which makes her basically the greatest tank I can use for the situation because she is going to survive basically anything the boss has to throw. The left side, I almost leaked one of the flying hoverboard guys, but I dropped Cantabile in there as a hot drop. I have her set on skill 1, so she gets the 70% attack. One thing I did mess up though, when it switches to phase 2 with the boss, it becomes a global knockdown of the pillars. So if you have a unit that is sitting either horizontal or vertical of the pillar, she will automatically knock it down on top of that operator, getting rid of them. So what you have to do is kind of just base them on the corners of it, the diagonal parts, and you will be safe from there. Keeping some of the pillars on the right side and the left side, I kept both of those just so I could knock them down on the gargoyles later. But right now, she is in Thorn's range. I had the demolition device, so I used it to drop the last pillar, because otherwise I would have had no way to dropping it. And I'm just stalling, because with her this low, I know I can finish her off if I have an option, but I was very scared that this might be a wiped run. But of course, I use one of the greatest operators in the game, one that I talk about being amazing every single video, and that's Cantabile. She was ready for the hot drop, and with her skill 1, she took out the boss, even with resistances, very quickly at the end. So, saved my run, and once again, use her here because I think the gargoyle might have got out of Thorn's range just in time to be able to make it out. So her being a fast redeploy, I had another option of getting rid of the gargoyle at the last moment, because otherwise I would have had to use blue poison, and blue poison was still deployed for no reason at the top right. So right now, all I'm going to do now is drop Swire diagonal of this pillar, because there's going to be 2 more gargoyles that come, and I want to make sure that I have blocking there just so I can knock the pillars down on both of them, getting rid of them instantly, and also knocking down the pillar on the right side to deal with the ones over there, because otherwise I have no way on that side of actually getting rid of the gargoyles. So with that done, that is Chapter 9 completed, and I honestly am going to miss Chapter 9 because I did like the mechanics. They were a bit annoying with the gargoyles obviously, but having the pillars there, dealing with different ways of handling lanes, it was a fantastic mechanic. So I am a bit sad about that, but Chapter 10 has an amazing one in the canon that I am very much stoked for because I loved it in the CC. But with that out of the way, we are going onto the EX stages, the challenge mode. So on EX1, the only part of the modifier of the challenge mode is that all allied operators have reduced max HP, which is not too hard to deal with, especially when you've got a front lineup as strong as the ones I'm using here with Mudrock and Saria. They're going to have no problem sustaining that lane, plus having Thorns as an option for dealing damage is always going to get rid of them very quickly. But normally, like I've said, I try to stay away from using Thorns as much as possible, but when it comes to the challenge mode stages, my first completion, I would rather just use him right away to make it a little bit easier, because they do have some very disgusting modifiers at times. And as a lane holder, I don't have that many great options for the range aspect of that, so Thorns is good here. Though I don't know if I actually end up using him for this clear. I might just keep it with the regular amount. But I throw Blue Poison on the left side to deal with some of that, and Meteor on the right side. Obviously, Meteor does not do a lot of single target damage. She does a decent amount and the defense down, which is what she's usually mainly used for, but it's probably a better option when clearing a large group like this to use someone like Cruz. Even though she's a 3-star, she is going to do quite a lot of damage and take care of a lot of that lane. Just a miniature version of Blue Poison, really. So, but not too bad of a challenge. We also hit level 63, and now this one, EX2 challenge mode, Armorless Union Assassin leaders gain extra attack at an increased rate. So basically, these are the guys that you're going to see sitting up top for a little bit. As they're running down, they're going to get a lot more attack stacking because that is the challenge mode part of this, and they can hit extremely hard on someone that doesn't have a damage negation shield like Mudrock. So do be careful with how you're doing this. These guys can blow through some of your tankiest defenders extremely quickly if they get a lot of them stacked up. So you're going to see one coming out of the top right here with the glowing sword. These are the guys, the longer they sit in there, the more attack they stack. I don't know if it goes to a certain point or if it keeps going. I would imagine it stops at a certain point, otherwise they'd probably one-shot all of my operators if they got down here. But you can do plenty of things to deal with them. One of them being trying to keep them in the light. Having some sniper up there honestly would deal with them just fine because they do circle back and forth once or twice, which makes it a little bit easier there. But as you can see, Mudrock got an absolute nuke hit on her with one of them. I also like to use Dorothy for situations like this because she can stall them out for quite some time, make it a little bit easier for your ranged operators to deal with them, or someone like Swire who has good reach is going to be able to do a lot of damage if they're bound right in front of her there. But I throw Gabriel here just to alleviate some of the stress, just in case things go bad, and she does of course take a lot of damage from them. But Mudrock with the shields was able to take the hits from the last bit of that group, and now I'm just stalling as long as I can. Cantabile goes down, Bagpipe goes down, even with the defense up. And then Saria would have probably gone down as well, but that's fine. We got that one done. I hate to sacrifice units like that, but it is what it is at times. Now this one, EX3, 6 spaces on the map are no longer available for deployment. This one, not too bad. You just had to be a little bit careful because in this one, originally, you just wanted to make sure that you didn't wake up these night guards too early. Otherwise, they're going to run through your lineup very quickly because at this point, I don't have much DP going for me right now, so I have to make sure that I get plenty before I'm ready to actually take them on. So everything I'm doing, I'm facing away from where they would actually be. Bagpipe is facing down, which is normally not a good option because you want her facing forward to do damage, as much damage as you can in time. But this is the only way to line up the side without getting her into a bad spot or ruining the run with that. But putting Mudrock down is the perfect option for this because with the shield she's going to take a decent amount. I throw Blue Poison down right above Gavialter just to get a little bit of extra damage on the side. And with Gavialter's S2 or S3, she should survive basically whatever comes her way from that side. But we're going to throw Ifrit down to the right of Mudrock because this is a fantastic spot for her to reach both lanes. Now, obviously, she's not going to get a whole lot of use on the right side because nothing really should get past Mudrock here, but she can help out a little bit with the damage for Gavialter. So, the main thing is there are 3 of these knights still ready. I'm going to try to wake this one up, and I get both of them because of the Myrtle placement, and with the S2 active, they can't quite get to Gavialter in time, so they both go down really quick, and then I make sure to throw Cantabile to get the other one up. I needed that done, otherwise with the timing of when those other guys walk out, I would have been overloaded with Gavial, so she would have went down. Now moving on to EX4, the DP cost of Guard and Defender operators is tripled. Now I am going to use a support for this. I do choose Ling, and I know Ling is a bit OP, but for this one I didn't have a lot of great options as far as Vanguards because my Vanguards are a little underleveled, and the plan was to use 2 snipers on the right side to deal with the archers as soon as they came out so they didn't wreak havoc on my squad. And because I'm doing that with 2 snipers, it makes it a little bit harder to actually hold the left side because I'll have less deployment options. So I ended up choosing Ling because she is a supporter and she is going to basically hold these lanes almost on her own. Though I do use Saga here. Saga doesn't get a lot of use yet. Not that she's not a good unit, because she very much is. I just haven't had a lot of times where I've been able to just throw her in. So Ling is going to be the MVP for this one, but I did not pay attention to the fact that Cruz was actually the last one dropped here. So as you can see, she goes down. I also drop another one of the Ling summons to bait some of the damage just for a moment, because I need as many of them as I possibly can get to survive. As you can see, the one at the top nearly goes down, but I do throw another dragon on top of it. And the annoying thing about them is they don't give vision. That is something I didn't really consider when I was thinking about this, but it didn't end up being a problem, because as long as Ling is up, we have no problem surviving here. So I had to throw another dragon on the back there, otherwise I would have lost. This one is going to go down, but that's perfectly fine. I have another one ready to block. And honestly, when it comes to it, if you have deep color leveled, she could do this one just fine. It's not going to have as much block for the tentacles, obviously, but if you change with the deployment strategy, just deploy one or two, and then you can put some more damage on the backside for that. But for EX5 challenge mode, what we have to do now is use one of the Knight's Crest to give vision, so we are stuck deploying on one specific spot, and then also the DP recovery rate is lowered. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting Honeyberry in my squad to block some of the damage off of the archers. I have to make sure that Mudrock isn't the last one to go down, because I can't heal her with Honeyberry, and she's going to be soloing the top side. So the most important aspect that I had here was making sure that I get a really strong defender, and I use Beagle, a 3-star, for this. Obviously, at this point, I wanted to use Korra, but I do not have Korra leveled. So you can see Mudrock is taking a couple shots, and then I throw Beagle down on the backside, and I have her being healed as much as possible by Honeyberry. Obviously, there's too many to deal with in that situation. I probably should have brought another medic just in case, but Beagle is very tanky, so she survives for quite some time. And I also throw some others in to bait, and it sucks to see Swire go down like that. Obviously, that is not what I want. But on the top side, with them going down, Beagle did go down, but at a later time, so not a problem. But I dropped Cantabile just to tank a little bit of shots, and also Click. I am a bit mean. I'm sorry, Click. Now moving on to EX6. So this one, all enemies have increased attack. That can be a problem, except I did have a good solution of what I thought I wanted to do for this one, and mainly because these guys that are walking around in the dark up here loop quite a few times, and what's better for that than blue poison? Now Hexia obviously would have been really good, but I don't have Exia, and I do not want to borrow support for these if I can help it. So basically, I'm going to use Dorothy to stall the bottom lane to make it a little bit easier for them, because I do not want Thorns taking too much damage. And with Perfumer's global heal, I don't have to put a healer at the top, because they were going to spread the damage between Dorothy and Swire, and with that regen, I'm going to be able to keep both of them alive. So that was very paramount. Without Perfumer, I would have had to throw some type of healer up top, which kind of puts me in a bad spot in some of these lanes, because I need as many blockers as I can for this bottom lane. It is a very, very tough bottom lane, and as you can see, Dorothy does absolute work. She is keeping this front line alive as long as possible. I know I was a bit greedy at the time when I was pulling Dorothy, because I wanted Dorothy. I knew Dorothy would be a great option when it came to stages like this, so that's why I pulled so hard for Dorothy in the past, and why I'm lacking a bit in my pulls for Tex Altar, but that's perfectly fine, because I have been grinding quite a bit, and I have saved up a decent amount. I should have over 100 pulls by the time I get there, so fingers crossed that I don't just have extremely bad luck. But this is one I actually used the support for only because of a specific strat that I was trying out that I completed the original one with, and wanted to see if it was still viable for the challenge mode. Because the change of this one, the condition is that the Urgate and the Urgate leaders have greatly increased HP. And you may be asking, which guys are those? Those are the unblockable units that you will see running from the top. They are very, very annoying. And this is one of my favorite showcases ever of Gavialter's S2 and why I love that ability so much. So I have Angie up top that is going to lower the weight of the big guys up there, and so I'm going to activate the ability, then activate the light, and what Gavialter is going to do is pull them straight into the hole, so I don't have to have anybody there to block these hard-hitting units. I can get them out of the way just in time to deal with everything else. I have blue poison on the left side as well to deal with some of the extra damage that I need for these guys, and then I'm also going to drop Ifrit to do a little damage. I wish he was E2 because it would have been a little bit easier, but while Gavialter is down and not able to pull into the hole, I have to activate Angie's talent because otherwise they get by because I don't have enough damage, like I said, with Ifrit right now to deal with them. And with the greatly increased HP, they just become a big nuisance. So this one was all about timing, honestly. If I didn't get the right timing between Angelina's skill and Gavialter, then I just ended up losing. So I ran this probably 3 or 4 times, even though I knew the strat, just so I could get the timings down precisely. And that was the hardest part of it. Everything else, not so bad. I can hold these lanes just fine. And we are coming up on the close of this. As you can see, Gavialter is going to not have her skill available during the last run of the 6s, but I do have Angelina's ready, so I just make sure to activate it, and between Ifrit, Blue Poison, and Cantabile's a little bit extra damage, they go down just fine. So once Gavialter gets these guys out of the way, we'll move on to the next stage. And the next stage is an important one because this is EX8. I hadn't actually completed this one until this point because I was saving it for later. I had done a few practice runs on stream and Discord just to kind of get the hang of it and figure out what I wanted to do, but what I was planning on doing was actually putting Kaora into my lineup at some point to be a viable tank for when the boss shows up, because Beagle gets one shot in the second phase, and after that, if Mudrock is not available because of the skill that the boss uses, then the boss will walk right by and walk through my lineup, and that is game over. So it came down to a lot of paying attention to what I was doing and getting the timings down, and I had this down like clockwork at this point, and it was all about just making sure that I figured out the best way of surviving the Bloodblade Swarm, which is in fact going to be between Tequila and Gavialter, and you'll see a fantastic hold by Tequila using Collapse's emergency heal, and I wish she was E2 because she would heal so much better and it would be so much stronger and way easier, and it wouldn't have been where it put me on edge half the time. But as you can see, first phase goes down, we're getting ready for the Bloodblades. I have to wait a little bit longer for Gavialter to have hers available, so I hold as long as possible, and unfortunately Tequila does go down, but I do have Bagpipe as a replacement, and then once Gavialter activates her skill, they just get absolutely demolished. So from this point, I just activate everything that I have available up there. And as you can see, he did get through the line for a moment, but I used Myrtle to tank one of the shots. That way Swire stays alive. And then from here, it's just cleaning up the rest of the enemy. So I get rid of everybody, and here is one of the most crucial aspects that I gotta be ready for, is blocking. I have Tequila as my only one readily available to do this block. And since Thorns is taking a massive amount of damage, I had to make sure that I placed Tequila facing right to line up what is behind Thorns. Otherwise, the damage from these other guys would have wiped him out and I would have lost. So once I get Beagle down, we're safe because I can block the other two here, and that guarantees that Thorns is not going to go down and he can just dish out all the damage he needs. And then I'm going to throw Gavialter and Swire down just to get this last one down a little bit faster, and that is EX8 done. Now the CM mode of it is going to be a lot harder, and I'm going to have to work around to figure out what I'm going to do for it, but at least we got the first one done for the moment. I'll see if I can get the other one done without borrowing, but it's going to be very, very rough. But this is where I'm actually leveling Kaora, because like I said, I want her to be a viable option of tanking Bloodblade when I need it, because if that S2 is up, then she should be extremely tanky. I also need to get her module because that gives her an extra 20% when she's blocking, so that defense is going to be astronomical and going to be so helpful in so many situations. But I get her skill level to 7, get ready to use the shell defense. The module stages are actually really easy with her. It's basically just using her in stages. You don't even have to worry about certain stipulations there, but I go into the shop, into the accommodation shop, and buy the rest of the grindstones that I need, and I get her to E2. So one of my favorite ones, and one that I've been waiting on for a really, really long time, honestly. I've talked about leveling Quora since probably back when I got Gavialter, so that has been quite some time. So another one is marked off the bucket list. But as you can see here, I just have to use shell defense during a battle 8 times, which is pretty easy, and the other one beat 210 with the 3-star rating, which is extremely easy. So basically these will be done. It's all about trust farming at this point, because she's only at 30%. It's going to take some time for that. But moving on to the NLS stages. These are ones that seem like they would be a nightmare, but really aren't that bad. I think this one was fairly easy if you got the right blockers for this. Gavialter with her S3 in the middle to make sure that the middle doesn't fall apart, because that is the main source of where the damage is going to come from the enemies. Now I'll put Thorns directly below her, just so we can help with both the mid lane, his lane, and the bottom lane. I have Saria facing backwards, because she doesn't attack regardless unless she's being hit, unless she's blocking, so you don't have to worry about that. I throw Mudrock forward because obviously she needs to be facing towards the enemy because she gets a little bit of a distance with her attack, and I also throw Quora facing backwards. So this is my first showcase of actually using her, and then I have Gravel here to bait some of the damage from the Candle Knights, making it a little bit easier there. But as you can see, the S3 putting in some absolute work. And while she is down with that, she's going to be taking a lot of damage because the 50% that she was mitigated is going to be coming to her during that time. But now I just have to kind of stall with Dorothy and the binds until I get the next one up, and it is ready once again. And I also have Ifrit here to do damage to some of these heavy guys. As you can see, there are some on the top as well, but Mudrock will handle them just fine and take out anything else. And then I also destroy the drone to get some crazy attack speed. As you can see here, I activate S3. Look how fast that goes. That is absolutely insane. And then Gravel, of course, there to bait out the Candle Knights for that last little bit. Otherwise, they basically wipe out everything else I have there, other than maybe Gavialter, because the S3 was active. And from here, we just have Mudrock doing some work. I'm going to put it on 4x speed and have Ifrit help, and Dorothy, of course. So that went down. That was actually a fun stage. The challenge mode, it just adds a few more enemies, so it should be basically the same way that I did this one. May have to make a little bit of change here or there, maybe with damage timings or something, just to make it a little bit easier, but should be good. And with that, we also are working on taking the S2 of Quora to Mastery Rank 3. So we're getting it to 2 now. By the end of this video, I do not have it to 3 yet because some of this was done today. But moving on to NLS2. This one, I thought it would be kind of dumb and a cheap way to actually do this one if I could stuff everything into this little room in front of the blue gate. But ironically, it did actually work. So with Thorns guarding the stairs, Gavialter guarding the blue box, I have quite a bit of damage there, and Gavialter has also switched to S2 because I'm going to be putting a lot of blockers in front, just because of the fact that with as many things run there and as tanky as they are, I have to make sure that I can do enough damage to actually deal with them. So I put her on S2 so she could reach. I also have Thorns helping with the damage, and I have to make sure here that I'm facing Saria down, otherwise my healers get absolutely obliterated from Tola. So you have to be careful there. Gavialter is with her back to the darkness, but it's not enough damage to take her out initially, and I can heal through it. So once she gets her skill active anyway, she's going to do a lot of damage to these guys and take them out, so they can't just keep spamming that on me. And then I'm going to put Mudrock here in front of Quora, and then from there I'm going to put Cutter as well, but I want to make sure certain people pass first. I want Cutter to be blocking someone that doesn't hit as hard because I need her to sustain and stay alive as long as possible. Mudrock does go down, and then with that, Quora is blocking Tola, so I have no problem keeping her alive. Cutter's doing a lot of damage when her nuke is available, and if I had her module, it would make her so much faster with her damage because of the SP gain chance that she has. But I haven't got her quite to 100 trust yet, so we're working towards that, but she does a good job of holding there. So NLS3 was an interesting stage, to say the least. A bit of a pain, and I ran it quite a few times, but also I kept DCing because my internet would cut out, which was very annoying. But One thing I did want to say as I'm doing this is that when I have a certain strat that I know is viable, a lot of times, even if I fail it multiple times, I do it until I get the timings just right, because one part of growing as a player in this game, I think, is to be able to do these challenges with a squad that is very hard to deal with and getting timings correct, because that is the greatest way to grow as a player. Just figuring out things that are extremely hard and working your way through these. And as you can see, I didn't have someone down in time to catch the nuke there, but luckily everyone stays alive. I have Tequila at the very front here because he's going to help take out some of the Candleknights. Otherwise, they end up running over my squad, and of course, Gravel being here to alleviate some of the stress off Mudrock, because she can tank extremely well, but if she tanks too many shots without her shield up, she's going to go down, which will make my plan fall apart. Now, one thing I did notice with this one is I had to be careful of the bottom lane, because with the lack of caster damage, having Thorns clear that, he can't do quite enough there, so I bait the nuke with Zarya on the bottom lane, and then immediately throw Kawura there. And I know at this point, with Viviana moving to the stairs, she's not going to throw another one until she steps out of the stairs there. So all I have to do now is make sure that I have someone there to bait the shot, and what I use is Myrtle, and Tequila ends up taking her down before she can actually drop the nuke. But here, I'm going to stall for quite some time. I'll skip forward because Bagpipe is going to take forever to take out this last knight. So moving forward into where it's almost done, you're going to see a lot of these Candleknights walk through, and I had plenty of time with the stall to actually get all of my defenders back. So now I can drop Mudrock on that backside and have her ready with her shields, and then throw Gravel down to bait some of the others. And from here, I'm just going to throw some more bait down just so that no one gets nuked. And with Gravel here, Tequila's damage active, we're good to go. They take out the two in the middle, and the ones on the outside are going to be slowly taken care of from the other side. And that is S3 done. So, of course, some of the challenge mode stages and some of the extra stages that I didn't get to because of the lack of internet connection, we're going to get to them in the next video, probably. As you can see here, I've got 4 and 5 still to do, and then I'm going to have to do the challenge modes of all of them, which will be fun. I'm not actually too worried about them. There may be some things I have to change, obviously, and of course doing the EX8 challenge mode is going to give me nightmares, but I'll see what I can actually do on that one and what I can figure out. It may take some really long planning, because trying it with the Blood Blades before, I just got absolutely obliterated, even with S3 Gavialter active. So we're going to take a little bit of running to figure that one out, but as far as my progression goes and as far as my operators are at, I'm doing pretty decent. I didn't do too many upgrades this time. I spent around 250k LMD actually taking up Kawura to E2 and then also putting her to level 40 so she could be at her module range. Now, of course, like I said, just trying to get the trust up, and from there, it'll be smooth sailing. She'll be my tankiest defender, other than maybe Mudrock in her situations where she has a lot of shields. Wildmane is the welfare operator from this event that I'm considering actually taking up because I like the way she works. It would be a great little addition to my Vanguard squad, though I don't know when that will actually be, because I'm looking through these and trying to figure out which ones I actually want to take up next. Conviction would be one I would love to take up. Estelle as well, because I love her art. Her art is fantastic. Just the whole design is so good. I'm curious what the E2 looks like. So that will be an option at one point. Moose as well I would like to E2 because I love the Arts Guard aspect. Maybe Doberman and Whislash here in the future because I do want to do Instructor Knights at some point. But Utagi is one of my main ones. This is the one that I'm thinking about going up because everybody talks about her, everybody raves on her, and I'd like to try her out for myself. I know she could be useful in a lot of situations, especially in the integrated strategies. She could be amazing, so we'll get to that point at some time. As far as snipers, Meteor I probably need to E2, but Shirayuki is one that is waiting as well. I'd like to at least E1 her for the time being. Ifrit, Mastima both need E2 to really come online and be extremely strong. After that, the 4 stars, I'm not too worried about putting any of these in. I could put Haze in, I could put Gitano in if I want. May wait on those. We'll see what I end up doing there. but I'm lacking a lot in the medic section. Shining really needs to go to E2 just for the defense gain. That would be insane for some of these clears, especially stacked with Quora. Some of these bosses are going to struggle to actually get through her, but we'll see. I could borrow, thinking about it, a Eunectus for the 1v1 against Bloodblade. We'll see what I decide to do on there, but she would be fantastic for that option as well. But as far as Chapter 10, as you can see, I haven't started yet. I'm going to start it after this video is out, probably when I have time. Maybe do some more of the side stories and the intermezzi, just to get some more OP, because if I do have a little bit of downtime, it would be a good chance to do that and grind some more out, because I want to try to get as many pulls as I can to try to, obviously not guarantee takes altar, but get as close as I can. Maybe get her at least once. I would be very happy with that. But as you can see, almost 50k. We're doing pretty well. But that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.